Hello? Acme? Yeah, it's me again. I need a rocket launcher and a pair of roller skates. Oh, yeah, that would be great. A sign that says yikes. Yeah, I still haven't caught him. Live from Wattpad Nation, it's the Corner Booth. Welcome to episode number 12. We are doing diversity today, and we have a fantastic panel for you. And I just, sorry, that was just kind of a little running joke that I heard earlier this week, and it made me laugh. Hopefully you got a little bit of humor out of it. But this is the High Five, and I want to introduce our amazing panel to you tonight. It's going to start with Miss Sarah Benson, who I've been pronouncing her last name right, thank God. We had a little conference before, and I just realized that I can't really say last names, which is... I'm sorry, guys. But in this episode, we are going to be talking about this amazing literary buzzword called diversity, and we're going to talk to you all about why it's an amazing component of writing. And this is part 1 of 2, because next week we'll get to the twist that we're doing with this little series duology, I guess. Is that the right word? But today, or this week, the panel is going to tell you what they're doing for their summer 2015, because I really think that the greatest thing about doing these broadcasts is the fact that you get to, kind of get into the lives of these writers and see them, on a more dimensional kind of plane. So, Miss Sarah, if you would tell us what your plans are for summer 2015.
Okay, well, I leave early tomorrow on a plane for 3.5 weeks, taking my family down there. And so, yeah, I'm pretty excited, pretty stoked to go down there and just do all sorts of crazy things, go search for, treasure and snorkel and, just spend time with the family. It should be a lot of fun. Really
You say it so nonchalantly, like, oh, yeah, I'm just going down to Belize. Like, it's no big deal.
It feels like terribly irresponsible to take off for 3.5 weeks. I've never done that before, but I am so happy I'm doing it.
That's awesome. Well, have a lot of fun. Hope that you'll bring back some really cool stories. Miss Rita Kovac. That's right? Did I get it right?
Oh,
yes. Thanks, Nat. Well, my family actually had a 10-day skiing holiday in Montreal over the Easter break, so we don't have any huge plans for this summer. We'll probably just take a week and go down to the Outer Banks in North Carolina, which is about a 4-hour drive away from where we live. We did the same thing last year and had lots of fun kayaking, swimming, and crabbing, so we're looking forward to that.
Nice. And we have, it gives me great pleasure to introduce this person because she worked so incredibly hard for this project, this craziness called The Corner Booth. Her name is Lindsay Lippincott, and she is the page master for The Corner Booth, or at The Corner Booth on Wattpad. She also does our Facebook fan page, and on top of that, she does everything that has to do with this contest that we're running currently. She is unbelievable. And, yeah, you're just one of those people that, like, something's happening, and I'm going to blame Sarah Benson.
No, it's not.
Lindsay, thank you so much for everything you do, and welcome to this panel.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
What are you doing for summer 2015, ma'am?
This summer, I actually just started working with JVC Broadcasting, which is a radio station that has one of their stations here in Ocala, Florida. So I'm kind of working with them this summer, and I'm also trying to find an internship so that I can hopefully graduate college at some point, maybe.
Yeah, it's cool. It would be, it's not overrated, right?
Yeah,
That's awesome. And we have our special guest panelist. Her name is Kelly Ann Blount, right?
That's right.
Yes! I'm on fire! She is doing this amazing thing called the Wattpad Block Party. She's going to talk to you a little bit about that because it's going to happen this summer 2015. But what else are you doing, Miss Kelly?
So I've got a couple of fun things planned. I really want to finish Under, which is the horror dark thriller I'm working on now. I've got the Carolina Book Fest signing coming up in August. Super pumped. And my mom and dad are coming down to visit. And I'm excited just to do some fun things around Asheville, North Carolina.
Ooh, nice. I like the Carolinas. And now I do want you to kind of expound on this craziness called the Wattpad Block Party because you have so many people participating in it over the summer, and it's launching in July, correct?
Correct. So the event
Go for it.
Sorry. Okay. So the event runs from the entire month of July, and we are featuring over 75 authors, anyone from Wattpad superstars to New York Times and USA Today bestselling authors to up-and-coming Wattpad writers. And the authors and writers were picked on a myriad of really cool things like Waddy Award winners nominated by their fans and a couple other really cool just ways to kind of distinguish people who really interact with their fans on Wattpad, people who leave comments when reading stories, who vote, who take the time to reach out to their fans. So it's a really a big honor to have the huge names that are coming, and everyone on this panel is coming. I'm super pumped to have you. Yay. And so each day in July, anywhere from 2 to 4 authors are going to be featured, and they're going to share with you a very special post. The post could be anything from a sneak peek at an upcoming chapter, Q&A session and questions from their fans, character interviews, or even writing tips. So anything that they really are looking forward to sharing with you in regards to reading, writing, and overall awesome Wattpadness. And another really great thing is that we're going to have a ton of giveaways. Last I looked, I think we have over 35 different giveaways. Anything from ebooks to swag kits to signed paperbacks, t-shirts, mugs, you name it. Your favorite authors are giving it up, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm super excited. Everyone is welcome to participate every day, and I think the most meaningful and exciting part about it is that our writers and featured authors and writers are going to get to interact with their fans every single day. So I know that there's some authors out there that probably get, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, 20 messages every single day, or even more in their inbox, and it's hard for authors to get back to everyone, but this is going to be an event where they're going to literally be able to interact with all of you every single day. So it's going to be really exciting.
Man, people are getting 20 messages a day? Y'all are like really popular. That's like a problem. That's not even a problem. That's not even the right way to say it. That's awesome. Yeah, so we're all looking forward to the Wattpad block party. Like she said, everybody that's pretty much everybody that's affiliated with the Corner booth is going to be there, and we're really, really excited to be a part of it. So we're going to have we're really excited to have Kelly on this episode, of course. But she's going to come on right before the Wattpad block party starts and kind of give you a little bit of a preview, hopefully, of what's going to be happening right before it launches, and we're all really, really super stoked. I can't even understand how much work you're doing for that, because it just seems like every single day you have some news, and which is really, really awesome, and we definitely enjoy and appreciate being a part of it.
I'm glad to have you.
Oh, yeah. and thanks for scratching our back, too, and being on our panel, because it's pretty cool.
Yep.
And then my favorite part of the broadcast is called Creamer Sugar. It is where we put Wattpadders like you in the spotlight, whether you're just someone who has risen to the top and people are like, who is this person on the hot list? Or you're already somebody who is well-established that we just can't get enough of. And I'm actually going to start with Miss Lindsay for your cream or sugar shout-out.
All right. I have 2, and the first one that I have is actually just a reader, but she's been a really huge supporter of Shadow's Edge and my whole series as I've been doing it. I even had a bit where I had just finished my story, or the Shadow's Edge, the first one, and it got deleted on Wattpad, and she actually was still supporting it after I went and put it back up and everything, and so she's been following along with it up until now. And that's LOL Our Angels Red 2013. So she's just been super awesome since I started on Wattpad about a year ago. And then my second one is Frances Ramos 1. She is actually the person who got me started on Wattpad. She's also been my roommate for the past 2 years up at Iowa State. And she has her story Mix of Blood, which is awesome. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But I was actually reading her story and helping her edit it at some points before I even started on Wattpad, about a year before I started on it. And so about almost a year and a half ago, she convinced me to start on Wattpad, because I kind of did some writing, but I never ever finished anything. So I signed up, and that's when I finally finished my first story and went on and completed a whole bunch of other ones. Mixed Blood is her fantasy story that she's just starting to get, or she just finished it recently. And it has her main character, Cara Dosnia, who is a half fae, half something else that you'll have to find out because it's a surprise.
Dun, dun, dun.
She ends up meeting a werewolf prince who just happens to be her mate. So there's a whole story that has its ups and downs. It's kept me hooked. She helps me come up with stories or ideas for my story, and I've helped her come up with ideas for hers. So we kind of bounce ideas back and forth off of each other, and Mixed Blood is definitely a really entertaining, attention-holding story.
Very cool, very cool. Thank you so much for sharing those shout-outs. And Miss Rita Kovac, or Kovac, God, I'm going to get it wrong every single time now. I'm so
No,
sorry.
that was fine.
Oh, jeez. Rita!
I think we're on a first name basis now,
Okay,
Nat. So,
thanks. It took so long to get over that bar because Rita's so particular with her friends and everything. It's nice to be in the inner circle. Miss Rita, who do you have for us?
All right, thanks, Matt. My cream shout-out this week is to Leah from Los Angeles, who goes by the handle Ghostwrite the Whip on Wattpad. I have been reading her novel Sleaze and am really enjoying it. It's a new adult contemporary story with lots of humor that's told from the first-person point of view of Parker Jennings as he takes an internship at an LA talent agency during his junior year of college. He's soon assigned an almost hopeless case, which is to find work for a troubled and nearly washed-up former child star named Sophie Winters. So if you like Hollywood gossip and enjoy lighthearted reads, Sleaze is definitely for you. So go check out Ghostwrite the Whip. For my sugar, I would like to recommend to you Wattpad user Kevin Gephardt, who goes by the same name on Wattpad. Kevin is an actor and screenwriter, and you will see this background come through in his writing style. He has full novels as well as short stories like Moving Target posted on Wattpad. This latter work is basically a one-shot, and it consists of a poignant conversation between two soldiers in the middle of a mission in Afghanistan. And this is something that Kevin condensed for Wattpad from a full-length play that he actually wrote. Kevin is a really cool person, and he's a very supportive Wattpadder. So follow him and tell him that you like limes because it'll put a smile on his face.
Thank you so much, Rita. I think that, okay, so some people, they might be wondering why we always do this part of the broadcast, even though, like, I think it's self-explanatory, but I do understand that some people are like, well, why do you always recognize these people that I have no idea who they are, or, you know, why is this credible, or something like this. It's just because I think that reading, it just makes you a better writer. You need to read these people simply because you're going to see exactly what they're doing, and not that you're going to steal their technique, but you're going to get some really, really great insight. And I think I've said it to several people, and I might have even said it on a broadcast. The writers who are on Wattpad who actually say, I don't read stories. Okay, that's like being in a band, like a rock band, and saying that you don't listen to music. That's just stupid. I mean, you think about it, and you just gotta have your inspiration come from somewhere, and it can't just be, oh, I watch really, really good movies or something. I mean, it can't be that. You have to be one with your craft, or I'm sorry, that sounds ridiculous. But anyways, Sarah, I don't know what you're doing right now. You kind of look like you're paranormal activity.
Plugging the laptop in.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, it does look like one of those low-budget horror films, though. Miss Sarah, who do you got for cream or sugar?
Let's see. So my first cream or sugar, and this was actually chosen before I knew a certain someone was going to be on the show. So my choice is by @Lena1029, Shadow's Edge, Lindsay Lippincott.
Who's that?
So this is awesome because I get to do it while she's on the show. So she has an awesome tagline. So I'm going to read that to you, and then I'll tell you what I love about this story. So, in the world of magic, there are only two options: to learn control or risk becoming the one thing everyone fears. I love it.
Ooh.
So, isn't that good? Gives you chills. Okay, so anyway, Shadow's Edge is, well, first of all, let me just give you a full background. Lindsay was like literally one of the first people who followed me on Wattpad. I think she's like number 2. My husband was the first one, and she's like number 2. And so like Lindsay and I, we go back to the beginning. And so you know, of course we were reading each other's stories a lot of the beginning. You know, it's like we don't know anybody. Hey, we have to hang out together. Well, she had been around longer than I had, but so anyway, this was one of the first stories I read on Wattpad too. And so it's a story of a girl named Mara Collins. Is it Mara or Mara?
Mara.
Mara.
Yeah,
okay,
don't ask me because I'm terrible with names.
So I got it right. Mara Collins, and so she wants to think she's just a normal girl, but she has these series of accidents that make her question what's wrong with her. She's just always trying to figure out what her problem is. Well, then she comes to find out that she's actually the descendant of one of the most powerful witches in history. And so she starts to tap into these powers that she never imagined that she had. And so as these powers start to develop, it's exciting, but it's also very scary because she doesn't know how to control what's happening. And not only that, she starts to question everyone around her, all her friends. She doesn't know who she can trust. And anyway, it's just a great story. I love the way she writes about friendships. And anyway, go check it out. That's Shadow's Edge by Lindsay. And the other focus I wanted, it's not actually a person, but it's a group. And this is in the early days of Wattpad. I stumbled across them. And my story is set in Egypt. And I deal with, my main character is multiracial, and she's half Egyptian, half American, and like all of my characters pretty much, I have Egyptian, I have English, I have American, I have, you know, basically it's very multicultural. And so this is at Diversity in Lit, and they do these awesome things where they spotlight on diversity. They have writing challenges and competitions. And I am very proud to have both Born of Shadow and The Bloodstone Prophecy in their reading list. And if you are writing a story about diversity in any form, it incorporates all sorts of diversity. Just tag it, we need diverse books, and there's a good chance that if you got a quality story that you'll end up in their reading list. So that's pretty cool. So hashtag, we need diverse books. In your tag, and then also consider checking out weneeddiversebooks.org and We Need Diverse Books hashtag on Twitter. They've got a lot of great stuff going there with a lot of really cool authors contributing to the cause. So I thought that was appropriate for this.
Yes, absolutely, and they do such a great job. I've kind of I've taken a look at the hashtag that's on Twitter, and there's some really, really good stuff on it. And we're also going to talk about the stuff that's not so good that's on that hashtag too, and that's kind of where we're twisting this from part 1 to part 2. But to continue on, Kelly, I believe you have some shout-outs as well.
I do. I definitely do. And there's one that I wanted to make first and foremost, and that's to my good friend, April Baker, who's amazing. She's April Baker 7, April with a Y, and she is a co-Limitless published author. That's our publisher. And she said, Kelly, you have to get on Wattpad. And this was like last year, maybe in like, I don't know, February. I was like, what is Wattpad? What are you talking about? And she's like, oh, my book's up there, The Ghost Files. I have like 3 million reads. I was like, what? What are you talking about? So I went up there, and I'm afraid of all things scary. I don't like the dark. I don't like monsters. I don't like serial killers. Like, I don't like any of that. But I was like, I'm really going to try and push myself and do something cool. And so the whole reason I started writing Captured is because my good friend April Baker really sung Wattpad's praises, so I definitely have to give her a shout-out. Then, the other book that I started to read is Born of Shadow by the Corner Booth's very own
That sounds
Sarah
really
Benson.
familiar.
Yeah, so I just started reading it. I'm not very far in, but I'm super pumped. I love books that take place overseas. I've lived overseas a couple different times, and it's definitely a highlight for me when I find an awesomely written book that has, just history woven in, and it's told beautifully. So I'm super excited to read more of that. And then, of course, I have to give a little shout-out to the Wattpad Block Party Summer Edition.
Of course.
Books
Of course.
up there, ready to go. Find it. It's on my page.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And that's, I think that everybody here has written something that it really just borders on, if not completely in the realm of diversity. And we're going to kind of talk about what that really means, because diversity, that word can mean so many different things to different people, depending on who you ask, depending on who you're talking to, depending on how that person writes. So we're going to kind of dig into that, but I do want to take a second. I don't know what's going on with my picture, guys. I know that I'm a little weird on my image. But I want to kind of give a few shout-outs to the people who are watching live and commenting on this. I actually got the feed working. It's taken me a long time to get this right. But the people, Ricky Pine, and I can't, oh man, I'm going to butcher this name too. I think it's Guillaume on Genet. Oh, geez, I am so sorry, dude. G. Yeah, so, and let's see, Trevor Armstrong, Thomas Bonnick, of course, is watching, Carl O'Connor. I don't think I missed anybody else. But thank you guys so much for, I generally don't give my characters nationalities. I think I only have done that in one story. That's Carl O'Connor. And Ricky Pine, as soon as somebody said something about, Sarah said something about the hashtag, he said, must go add that hashtag to some of my stories. So thank you guys for, watching this and participating with it. I'm going to definitely copy and paste your conversation because it doesn't save. It's only live. And so after the broadcast is over, that whole conversation disappears. So I'm going to try to copy and paste it, and hopefully Lindsay and I, we can put it into one of this, like a chapter, so you guys can get a little bit of exposure with it, because some of those things that I was reading, they're actually quite funny. So, I mean, you got Ricky Pine in there, and you also got Thomas Bonnick, and those guys are clowns. So, oh, and Wrestling Kizel is there. I'm sorry. Like, I can't do names. I just can't do it. Hi, RCK Close. I know that. That's your Wattpad moniker. Sorry, that was a huge, wild tangent. Now, we're getting into the entree, and that's just the part of the broadcast that is the meat of the discussion. And of course, like I said, we're talking about diversity. So the big question number one: how can a writer creatively infuse diverse components into his or her story? Share examples of what you've done in your writing process. And I'm actually going to start with Rita for this.
Thanks, Nat. I think a book can only be called diverse if the various characters and settings are the only ones you can use in order to tell that particular story. For example, in my beloved series, which includes Waters of Oblivion and the sequel Gods of Sorrow, I do have a cast that consists of different ethnicities and abilities, along with some international locations. There's a mute Asian girl, a Hispanic boy with a facial birthmark, both African American and Arabic best friends to the MCs. And the narrative also takes the story to Italy, England, and France, but I only chose these characters and locations to make the story more interesting. I could have easily substituted any number of other cultural backgrounds or physical traits and told the same story. The only diverse aspect of the series that I couldn't have substituted out is having a female lead, and this is for reasons that I won't spoil for those of you who haven't read the books. But even this isn't truly diversity, since I doubt any of my female characters would pass the Bechdel test. However, in my book, The Pirate King and I do think there is proper diversity. The story would be significantly different if it wasn't set in the 1700s Caribbean with a female protagonist from South America who gets involved with a mostly English pirate crew. So I think that's the difference, is don't have diversity just for the sake of diversity. It has to have a specific meaning to your story.
So true, and we're going to dig into that little statement of yours, Rita, because it's so true. It's not supposed to be some carrot at the end of the stick. Miss Kelly.
Hey. So I like to write a lot of stories that incorporate my own background, and I've been really fortunate. I've lived overseas. I've lived in 3 different countries, and I've served as an international peer tutor for university students from around the world coming to the university I went to. And then I've also worked at a variety of schools with a myriad of students from different backgrounds. So what I always like to think is, what would one of my friends from overseas, or what would one of my former students think when I'm writing a book if it's only about one type of person, one type of culture, one type of group? That's not the world that I live in. So I like to take background from all of my experiences, and I really like to mesh it with the 5 senses. So if a family's sitting around, are they only speaking English, or do they have another language? Do they have an accent? What are they eating? What are they listening to? what does their home smell like? You know, like I like to think of everything like that. So people from around the world can read the story and relate and pick up little, you know, fun, interesting facts. And even if it's just a certain food that I really like, well, now my character might like it too, and it might be from around the world. And if I can inspire people to go out there, read different books, meet people from around the world, even try different food from around the world, then I think that, you know, as an author, that my job is, you know, is being met, because I really shoot to tell stories with a global presence.
Oh, ooh, sorry. I have to mute my microphone every once in a while, people, because I have dogs around the area that I'm broadcasting, and I mean they're adorable, but yeah, no. So yes, absolutely. I think that man, global scale is huge for literature, and I mean Wattpad is a global company. I mean it's a global open source, and there's something amazing about that, but there's also something kind of terrifying about it as well, because if you rub the wrong kind of maybe stereotype, or you might not think it's a stereotype, and
Right.
then one of the biggest ones is, and I learned this a long time ago, well, first of all, I'm adopted, so I don't get a lot of the Asian culture, or I didn't get a lot of the Asian culture right out of the gate. I had to learn about it. So one of the things that I did learn was the fact that Oriental is not how you describe a person. That's how you describe a rug. Asian is the person. You don't say that person is Oriental. That's like, it's an adjective that's saved for items, like, or flavors of ramen. So yeah, that's just, you know, you might say something that just kind of hits somebody at the wrong angle, and you might have the best intentions, but you know what they say about hell and good intentions and all that good stuff. So anyways, Lindsay, what do you got for us?
I kind of what I have kind of goes off of the different issues and stuff, and I mostly write in fantasy because I find that it's a way where you can touch on issues of diversity or other topics like that, but you can put it in a way that it's similar, but it's also different to like maybe what's going on in the world around us. So like in Shadow's Edge, I have the head mistress, who is actually a cross between a fae and a witch, which people aren't necessarily happy about. It got even to the point where some parents were debating about pulling their kids out of the school and maybe taking them somewhere else. But the fae king and queen stepped up and by admitting their daughter to the school, so that kind of like helped to keep most of the other kids in. So, like, the suggestion that I would maybe have for writing stuff like this is if you have diversity, which is important, don't try to force it in there. You don't want to force anything. You want to let your characters be who they are and let the story be how it is and just let it flow naturally.
Absolutely. Sorry, I kind of got distracted because Sarah just like ducked out real fast. When she comes back, she will answer the question because she knows a lot about diversity. And there's something that Rita actually responded to because people are talking about diversity on our live feed for the YouTube. And what Rita typed was, nationality is one small part of diversity. Language, disabilities. Ooh, hang on, people are typing more stuff. Ooh, man, I totally lost it. Language disabilities, gender and sexual preference, etc. also count. So does setting and location. And everybody's kind of, giving their 2 cents on it. And Thomas, of course, he's like, I agree with you, Rita. I wish that I could do his cool accent, but I can't. And Carl O'Connor, he's like, definitely. And then Russelin, she has, I like the idea of adding diversity, especially from a visual perspective. Oh, I love that. I love that visual perspective. I also write fantasy, but adding descriptions with diverse characters. Diverse. Okay, I was like diverse, like scuba. Diverse characters is good writing. Absolutely. So thank you guys so much for playing on the live feed conversation. Like I said, we're gonna try to compile it all together and show everybody who's either catching the rebroadcast or the archived footage and so they know what's going on and what you guys are saying, because it is super uber important. Sarah, welcome back. Oh, I can't hear you. I'm sorry, Sarah.
Try this again.
Yeah,
Is that
better? Oh, yeah.
Are we good? Okay.
Yeah.
Loud. All right. So I think when I sat down to think about this, because the stories that I do put up on Wattpad are quite diverse just by the nature of the story, and I think what's interesting about diverse stories is I think some people kind of shy away from things that they're not used to. They get one style of book that they always like to read, and they just keep going back to that same thing. And what I love about diversity is they kind of pull you out of that always reading the same type of thing. And I tend to be very curious about the world, so when I read something new, I don't usually like, oh, this isn't my type of read. It's like, whoa, where are they coming from? So I think if you could just kind of like approach reading with an open mind, and like try to go into this world that you're unfamiliar with and see it through the eyes of this other writer. Don't automatically assume it's inferior or you won't like it, like a kid trying a new vegetable or something like that. To open your mind to the possibilities and learn about the world around you, the way that others think and believe, and learn to appreciate the differences that we all have. I think that when you do that, then it opens a whole new world, and you will become so much more educated and so much more interesting of a person because you have opened yourself up to new ideas and new thoughts.
Absolutely, and I think what you were saying about the fact that it's challenging, to say the least, that it's not something that's easy. It's something that takes a lot of time and research. And I know that you've done a lot of research. All these people on the panel, these ladies, they've done an enormous amount of research to make sure that they hit all of the points that they want to, and in a way, in a style that really kind of serves that. You got to kind of think of it as, the way that I would put it in perspective is when you learn something brand new, like let's say that you learned how to do, Ricky Pine, he was talking about learning how to juggle. Okay, so imagine a skill like that, and you're just picking up juggling. You have to practice juggling before you do it in front of other people. You can't just say, hey, look, watch me learn how to do this in front of you. And it just doesn't work that way. And I think that even when you start getting good at it, a lot of the times, at least for me, it's just like, I'm really great at things until you watch me do them. And then I just suck. It's just like all the hours of practice just go down the drain. And it's kind of, you got to think of it in the same vein. You have to practice these things. And sometimes I think what Lindsay was saying about, helping one of her friends that's on Wattpad edit, try that. Make your, instead of publishing a chapter right away, save it as a Google document or something like that, something that's shareable, and then share it with somebody that you trust implicitly, and see how that goes, just as a warm-up practice kind of thing. And then, if this is somebody who you really value their opinion, then you're going to kind of go with it. And if they say, dude, you might want to, back off on this, and maybe just take this one little detail and make that more vivid and run that direction. Wattpad gives you those avenues. I mean, they're readily available. Private messaging, and the fact that you guys are even right now playing on the live conversation, you guys can talk to each other in real time, and there's something really, really wonderful about that. So without further ado, we are going to move over to question number 2. When a story takes you into a circumstance, a world that you're not familiar with, what keeps your attention? What do you look for when you're reading out there stories? And I'm going to go in the same order. Rita.
Okay, well, I personally need everything I read to be somewhat grounded in reality. Whether it's fantasy or other forms of speculative fiction, it needs an element that is familiar, feasible, and relatable. This is why I really can't get into high fantasy like Lord of the Rings, blasphemous, I know, or really sci-fi like Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. And I think Trevor and I have had this conversation before on DMs because he actually writes kind of high fantasy. So he was asking me, why don't you like it? As an art historian, I do really appreciate well-researched stories, whether being true to historical events or having scientific explanations that could very easily be true. And this attention to detail also helps ground a narrative, which otherwise would seem too far-fetched for me. There's no lazier storytelling than either ignoring acceptable rationale for something without explaining how in your specific world something is possible. And it's almost as bad as having an antagonist be evil for the sake of being evil instead of, let's say, he has daddy issues or is just plain greedy. So, that's what helps me get into things that would otherwise be kind of out there.
Yeah, and that's really important because a lot of people, they think, oh, I'm going to write something different. And sometimes there's a thing called too different. If it's, I mean, I think we've all picked up a book where it's just kind of like, what? So, just kind of keep that in consideration. That's what those friends that you make on Wattpad, when you want to do something that's bold and daring and that has some risk and that element involved, talk to these people that you've collaborated with either in the past or people who have inspired you. I know that if there's ever a point in time where I'm just kind of like, hey, you know what? I would love to do something about Egypt, or I would love to do something about like a pirate ship with a dude that has like really, really good abs. Or I mean,
I'm never gonna live that down, am I?
I have people to talk to, Miss Lindsay.
Okay, so mine is going to bounce off of what Sarah had said for her first response. And when I'm reading something that maybe like I'm not used to, or if I'm like in a completely different world, I like to find out more about the things that I don't understand. So you're hopefully going to be getting more pieces to like the puzzle of the world and what's going on as you go. That's going to help you answer like what or who and why, which are the things that I kind of like to figure out, like what's going on, what is the issue, like who is this person, like what type of person are they and why are they like that. So like, and like what's going on. So I like to figure out those different types of questions and like just learn more about where different authors are coming from, different worlds that they're creating and setting up. And that's kind of what keeps my attention when I'm reading something that maybe I don't quite understand from the beginning.
Absolutely. And I think, like, again, that's one of the beautiful things about Wattpad. If you are confused about something, why not ask the writer? And I guarantee you, if it's somebody that's like constantly posting, if you have a question about something, 9 times out of 10 they're going to answer you with something and at least make a defendable argument, hopefully. And it might not change your opinion, but hey, I mean, at least you get an answer. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Miss Kelly.
Hey. So I like to read a variety of books, anything from memoirs to high fantasy. I'm starting to try and read scary books too, even though I write them. I get kind of freaked out. I guess the big thing is I really like a relatable character. It helps me really grasp onto the story, but at the same time, if there isn't a relatable character, I like the complete opposite. Like I'm reading a true life story right now about someone from the FDLS, a survivor who left the compound, and it's amazing. It's the coolest thing ever to read this and just get in her mindset, because that's somewhere where I have never been and most likely will never go. So for me, just grasping onto that story and really understanding from her point of view is amazing. And I also really, really enjoy stories told from around the world. So I like to learn about different cultures, and I like to learn about different parts of the world through literature.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kelly. And Sarah, welcome back again.
All right.
You must not like Kelly's answers, because every time Kelly starts talking, she's like, deuce, later. Sarah, what do you got for us?
So for my answer, the thing that occurred to me, is that what's diverse for me is not diverse for someone else. It's so interesting to me. Like I get on Wattpad and I read about people's personal experiences, especially like in another country, another culture, another religion, another, any type of diverse situation. And it's interesting to me. I really enjoy reading that and like kind of opening my mind to this new world. And what's interesting to me is the recognition that someone around the world is reading my experiences, my stories, and they're gaining new understanding in the process. Even just my English friends at J. Vector and at T.E.J. Johnson, I remember when they were reading Born of Shadow, we would have so much fun because we'd be going along and they'd be like, oh, no, Liam, and the English boy English lad, he wouldn't say that. And I'd be like, oh, he wouldn't? They're like, yeah, we don't take candy over here. And I was like, well, that's positively un-American to not take candy. It's a bar of chocolate. So like, all right, thank you. So it was so helpful to like, you know.
Oh, Sarah, you unplugged your headphones.
That better?
Yeah. You kind of like every time you plug your headphones in, I think like a car is about to run over you because
It's just like, sorry. Oh gosh, I might need new headphones, but I love these. I was just telling the ladies, I'm like, they're nice. They like fit my ears today.
they don't hurt your ear holes.
Your ear holes are okay.
Sorry, everybody. That's like a little inside joke that Kelly told.
Yeah. Could you hear what I was saying?
Can you repeat the last sentence? You were on a roll, and then I think you did like a hand gesture, and
and I just threw it out.
You're so animated.
Okay. Yeah, you know. Okay, so I was just saying what I really appreciate. It's so nice getting on Wattpad because you have people who have these perspectives, and so when you're writing diverse characters, and for example, in person I do not know any Muslims. But on Wattpad, I have some very close Muslim friends, and so I have a character in my book who is, and so it's wonderful because if I ever have any questions, I have friends that know Arabic, I can ask them questions about it, or they can come in and say, yeah, I don't know about this. It just helps me make those characters more authentic, and more than anything, when I write diverse characters, I want it to feel authentic, like Kelly was saying with that global perspective, that when people read it, they'd be like, okay, yeah, I buy that. And I think it's been very helpful. The other day I got a nice compliment that my English characters, it's like so many Americans just write them very proper, and it's not really the way we speak. And he's like, yours doesn't do that as much. I'm like, yeah, thanks to my English friends for helping, but I also try to be sensitive that I don't fall into stereotypes or cliches about certain people when I write. I think things that help me with creatively infusing like diverse components and stuff, it's like the details. It's all in the details. So for example, in Born of Shadow, I try to really incorporate things like foods, that are authentic to the area, clothing, music, really figuring out the specifics of locations, just kind of try to get into the mindset of what the characters would be experiencing. And it's just so much fun, too, interacting over that. I remember I have a marketplace scene where one of the characters is eating kafta. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, because I don't even know. But it's like, spicy meatballs. And what was so cool is my friend Hafsa from India gets on there and says, oh, you should try my mom's recipe. And my mom gets on there and she's all like, ooh, give us the recipe. So we're all like swapping kafta recipes on my story. I like love that kind of stuff. That we're getting like this awesome, authentic Indian food recipes on my story. So anyway, I just think, more than anything, just those, it's in the details that you really get a sense of what makes that story. So.
Absolutely, I think everybody knows, or at least has heard of, the bare bones of writing a story. I mean, it's the whole arc, and everybody's seen it. Rising action, climax, falling action, resolution, all that good stuff. And then there's, I'm going to use a word that's I've heard it twice on this broadcast already, but like there are a myriad of components that go with that, and it's exactly what you said, Sarah. I think like some of the most brilliant things that are in existence, it's all about the fine details, and it might look like something run-of-the-mill until you see, oh wow, there's that one little imperfection that makes it perfect. Kind of quoting John Legend somehow in there. But there's also something that's really, really wonderful about the fact that people are taking risks on Wattpad, and that's something that I kind of want to touch base on right now. We've answered these two questions, and panel, you guys have done fantastic doing it. But it's also something that Rita touched base on, of the fact that are we getting to the point where it's almost becoming too diverse? I know that sounds crazy, and it sounds like something, Nat, are you not an advocate for diversity? Of course I am. Come on. I'm Asian, and my last name is Bradford. I'm about as diverse as you can get. It's just the fact that, I mean, some people, they're doing it for the sake of doing it, and it's not the right way of going about it. LGBT is a really, really big genre right now. And actually, my dad once thought that LGBT was a BLT with guacamole. And then when I told him what it was, he was like, oh, that's not what I thought it was at all. And I was like, man, I really want a sandwich now. But anyway, it's just, I digress. There's just something about it when, think of it like in high school, okay? There's that one clique who wants to be different so bad, and it's like they're trying to outdo each other for being the most different. And then all of a sudden they realize that they're the same kind of deal. I mean, it's just, it becomes, I don't know, the style takes on a different shape and things like that, and it starts to run together, and then people start doing the same thing. Fads happen, and usually fads are very short-lived. So please don't do that with something so beautiful as a concept like diversity. You know, just having an Asian character for the sake of having an Asian character, or having somebody with a Russian accent because you really like Russian accents and that's the only thing that you're using it for. I think that the thing that speaks loudest, and the panel is probably all going to agree with this, is the fact that your characters, their actions, their dialogue, that's what should define them. They should be, it should almost be like you don't even have to say that they have a certain color skin, or that they have a certain color eye, or that they have an accent of some shape or some sound. Let them kind of just be. And I guarantee you, like, you're going to see an immediacy with readers kind of catching on to the fact that those subtleties, those little details that you're dropping in between the cracks, they're becoming bigger. So just a little challenge for you. But now we're over to the part of the broadcast that is called Pass the Salt. And actually, Sarah left when I was talking this time, so don't feel bad, Kelly. She just hates everybody, I guess. All right, Pass the Salt. It is honesty and 140 characters, which makes it tweetable. I hope that you're loving these. The panel, they get more creative with these every single broadcast, and it's so much fun to see them grow with it. So, Lindsay, I'm going to break you in for Pass the Salt.
All right. Well, mine that I came up with kind of can go with the diversity topic, or it can just go with writing in general. And that would be just because it fits doesn't mean that it sits. So it's kind of like just because you can fit in a character or an event that adds diversity into a story, or just because you can fit this other event into your story doesn't mean that it actually sits well with your story. So you want to ask yourself if it's actually adding anything extra and if it's doing anything for it. You don't just want to add it in there because you can.
Right, right. Well, it's like you're almost forcing it to be something that it's not, and then you're trying to be stylistic with it as well. It's like the blooper reel, the gag reel at the end of Liar Liar with Jim Carrey, where he's like going like this with a piece of paper, and then he's like a goose, and then like it's just he's forcing it into that shape. And I mean, it's like I said, just because it fits doesn't mean that it's gonna set. Miss Rita, what do you got for us this week?
All right, well, I kind of feel clairvoyant because this is basically what you just said like 2 minutes ago, but my Pass the Salt this week is diversity isn't just window dressing. It should be integral to the story without pandering to the trends.
Ooh. Yeah, absolutely. Trends, they come and go, people. Let's make sure that diversity doesn't come and go. Miss Kelly.
Not going to lie, I had no idea what Pass the Salt meant. So...
Oops.
But, but
sorry.
I will say, and that's okay. But I will say that just make sure when you're telling a story, be as authentic as you can, and if possible, embrace that, saying where it's your duty as an author to share stories with global presence, and that, you might need to start out small in your community, in your life, and what you know, and then expand it, and, get to know people from around the world, people from different cultures, different backgrounds, and incorporate that into your stories when you can and when you feel comfortable in an authentic way.
Yeah, absolutely. They always say write what you know, but you should never stop learning, people. Like, I mean, that's the thing. Every time that I read somebody's story that's on Wattpad, I find myself, especially if it's something that's amazingly well written, into a comfort zone that you know that the author is comfortable. And it's so obvious and apparent when that happens, when you just see like the rhythm of everything just flowing the way that it needs to flow, and you find yourself learning, and it sounds so like after school special, never stop learning. Da, da, da. Miss Sarah Benson, what do you got for us?
All right. Well, before I say this, I just wanted to second your thoughts on the diversity. No one, no one, no one would like to be known by just their physical attributes or, whatever it may be that makes them considered diverse. They're each person is a real person, and your character should reflect that, I think. And then also just like watch out to avoid feeling like you have to fit every diverse aspect into your story. And I see
a man with a Native American headdress walked in on a cowboy who was wearing like suspenders. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's okay. You don't need to go there. If you leave possibly one diverse group out, they might forgive you. It's okay. So anyway, mine today, my salt, I borrowed from Maya Angelou because she's so wonderful speaking about diversity, and she said this so eloquently. She said, "It is time for parents to teach young people early on that in diversity there is beauty and there is strength." I love that.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you, Sarah. So that kind of ties this out before we wrap this up, and I'm actually going to get back to something that Rita said. She was talking about a specific test, and one of her answers, and it's called the Bechtel test. And if you don't know what it is, I really want Rita to explain what she was talking about.
Okay, thanks, Nat. Actually, the Bechtel test is an easy way to measure how well-developed female roles are in film, but it's kind of been appropriated for literature as well recently in order to point out gender inequality. And there are 3 requirements for a work to get a passing grade in this test. And they may seem very simple, but you'd be surprised by how few actually pass. So these are: the work has to have at least 2 women in it who talk to each other, and they have to talk to each other about something besides a man. So whenever you're watching a movie or reading a book, just keep these 3 things in mind and see if the work actually passes this test, because, like I said, not many do. And there's actually actually several spins on this, but one of the most recent ones, which I really like, it's called the Mako Mori test, and this is named after the only female character of note in the movie Pacific Rim. And it's a variant of the Bechtel test where the requirements are a little bit different, but they are that there is at least one female character who gets her own narrative arc that is not about supporting a man's story.
I like it. I like that a lot. Is there, hopefully, Rita, if you can send me a link, we can either share it on our page or, in the descriptions below or something like
Absolutely.
that. It sounds super, super interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You think the one story that comes to mind for me is a little story that is called The Wizard of Oz, and because it definitely doesn't rotate around a dude. You're talking about witches and Dorothy and things like. It's kind of like the ultimate chick flick. It's about some chicks that are fighting over a pair of shoes. So it's like I think that the way that they kind of took that story, and then that's why it's been twisted so many different ways and contorted into these amazing renditions of the same kind of story, just with a little bit of a different angle. And it's just because they made these really crystal clear archetypes. And I think there's something really, really wonderful about that. So thank you for pointing that out and let us know. Okay, yeah, that does exist, and it is super important, and we should be definitely talking about, especially female presence. They were talking about, what was it? Female leads in the Wattpad 4 this past month, and this month they're tackling fan fiction. So 2 very, very important things that are kind of going back to back with the Wattpad 4, but absolutely, when we kind of touched base on this a little bit before the broadcast when we were talking, is the fact that just because you don't like fan fiction or you might not have a preference for it doesn't mean that it's not important. So just kind of, pick up a fan fiction every once in a while and just see what they're doing, because there's something really, really wonderful when you see somebody who loves something so much that they want to take it a little bit further. And it's kind of like with these musicians that do covers of songs. They love this song so much that they want to make it their own. So check it out, yeah, definitely. And Wattpad 4, they will be airing tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitter using the hashtag Wattpad4. 2004. Now with Check Please, we are, like I said, we're twisting this up, and part 2 is going to be, we're going to do a little diversity with the panel. You're going to see a completely new panel next week, and we're actually going to talk about that one little stinger of, okay, we love diverse stories, but where do you draw the line, and how do we get at least address these specific topics to make sure that it's not spiraling in a crazy trajectory. It's the last thing that we want to do, and like I said, I think the very last thing that you want to do is clearly offend somebody, and because Wattpad is so diverse in just its users, it's very easy to do. So, and not to say that we should all walk on eggshells constantly. If we make a mistake, we make a mistake, but there's a difference between an innocent mistake and one that's very blatant. I think one of the things that I saw on a South Park episode or interview, and this is kind of going in the opposite direction of what I mean, but they said the reason why our show works is because we don't offend one person, we offend everyone. And I think there's something that can be, like, we can twist that in our direction as well. It's not the fact that, you know, we're focusing on one topic. We're trying to focus on a bigger kind of scale. Sarah's actually been in talks with me a little bit about a project that she's working on that's going to be kind of, you know, an advanced look into Wattpadders and writers and things like that. And definitely look forward to it. It's something that's on the horizon for her. But just the fact that, you know, the things like the corner booth and things like everything she's gone through with Wattpad Class of 2004, or is it 2014? I was like, how is that wrong? But, you know, her experience with that, they're kind of angling her into a different direction. Not that she's, you know, hopefully not that she's leaving the corner booth, but just the fact that... Yeah.
Sorry, could I just share just a bit more about that?
Yeah, sure.
Would that be okay? Just a minute or two? Yeah. So, and I just barely posted some things. So on the Wattpad 2014 profile, we've really just enjoyed coming together as a group, and it's been fantastic. But as you know, most groups have to somewhat limit themselves just to not lose that closeness and that intimacy. And so we want to kind of come together with other groups on Wattpad and potentially off. To help support them in what they're trying to accomplish. And some of the groups so far that we've worked with is the Wattpad 4. They did their contest, and we were guest judges for that. And then we're also working with Callie on her summer giveaway, and she's going to put together a little post for me to guest post on this tips and tricks book that we're putting together on our profile. And we basically just want to get the word out that we are opening this to anybody. Any age, you know, whatever genre, if you're doing fan fiction, if you're doing poetry, you know, we are non-discriminatory, you know. The idea behind it is if you've got a group on Wattpad or you know of a cool group on Wattpad, come by to at WPC, or is that right? Wattpad Class 2014. Come by to our profile, please, and send us a private message letting us know. The information is in the book there under the Tips and Tricks book of what information we need. And we are basically putting together a Facebook page. I've already put it together, actually. And we just basically need 1 or 2 leaders of the group to be willing to be a part of that Facebook page. And we're hoping then anytime we have something cool going on, like the block party or some kind of contest or some kind of opportunity or whatever, that we can kind of share so that the groups can let other groups know what's going on and we can all kind of be in the loop. And so, you know, this is, like I said, is open to anybody. And so if you are on Wattpad and you don't really have a group, go out there, read some stories, connect with a few people. If you've got 3 members or more, come on over and, you know, sign up to be part of the group, and then we can all interact and kind of hopefully just continue to grow this community, this awesome Wattpad community. So that's the hope.
Absolutely, I love that. Just the fact that you're being so open and candid with the invitation. So yes, if you're looking for a group, you can either head on over to Wattpad Class of 2004 or just
14.
Think of, oh God, I'm gonna keep saying it too. Just like I'm going to say Kovac for the rest of my life. Just, do something bold, do something daring, take a risk. And that's what I'm going to be kind of offering up for for anybody who is interested in winning a Wattpad mug. Like I said, it's kind of easy to do because so very few people actually do what I ask. So this next week, if anybody wants to do this, just use our hashtag, which is hashtag TCBWatt on Twitter, and to win one of these. Kelly actually has one too. And tell us about a bold risk that you're taking this week, because I think that's what's going to push the envelope and what's going to make things bigger, better, and just so much stronger for diversity. But make sure that you do it in the right way. Yes, risks are great, but don't put all your eggs in one basket kind of deal. So that's going to carry us into the last portion of the broadcast, which is Just Write It. It is a part of Wattpad where it challenges you to write 10,000 words in 30 days. And like I said, this month they're tackling fan fiction. We have an amazing friend. Her name's Samantha Pennington. She works for Wattpad headquarters, and she's in charge of it. She goes by @Samantha on Wattpad. If you have any questions, she is awesome, and she will never, ever turn you away if you have a question. She's very, 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 very good with the community. So thank you, Samantha, for not only participating with the Corner Booth, but just doing everything that you do. And that's going to take us out. So hopefully next week you guys will tune in for part 2 of Diversity. Panel, ladies, if you'd please say goodnight.
Good night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for watching.